Imagine waking up in the morning and before you even get out of bed, your hand is reaching for your cell phone. You unconsciously slide your finger across the screen. Instagram, WhatsApp, TikTok, Twitter. You don't even notice the time passing, but what seems like a harmless habit hides something much deeper and more dangerous. Today, more than 4.7 billion people use social networks worldwide. And according to recent studies, the average user spends around 2 hours and 31 minutes a day on the platforms. That's equivalent to more than 38 full days a year. But what are social networks doing to your brain during that time? This video isn't to tell you to drop everything and live like a monk, but it is to open your eyes to what is happening inside you, right now, while you browse. Because little by little you're being trained, like a rat in search of rewards, losing focus, sinking into toxic comparisons and sacrificing your mental health. Today we're going to talk about the real and proven effects that social media have on your brain. We'll explore the dopamine cycle, rising anxiety, falling self-esteem, and, most importantly, how to break free from this cycle without giving up technology. If this content has already made sense to you, like the video now, because it helps to reach more people. And write "I dominate" if you feel you are in control of your use of social media. Or are you a hostage to it? You don't notice when it happens. Your finger slides across the feed, time passes, and suddenly 2 hours have gone by. And you don't even know what you've seen. This isn't an accident. It's a project designed to capture your attention with surgical precision and turn your time into profit. Social networks weren't created to connect us. That's what we've been told. The truth is that behind every like, every notification, and every short video, there is psychological engineering based on stimuli, rewards, and addiction. And the first trigger of this invisible prison is the infinite scroll, that feed that never ends. Created to prevent the brain from registering an end. You scroll, 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 waiting for the next interesting post, the next shocking image, the next dose of news. This is called intermittent reinforcement, the same principle used in casinos. You never know when the next reward is coming, and so you don't stop. Then comes the red notification, visually designed to generate urgency. That pulsating icon isn't just a warning, it's an emotional call. And when you click, the brain releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter activated when we eat chocolate, have sex, or use recreational drugs. Yes, the brain literally rewards itself for digital social interactions, however superficial. Studies show that the simple act of receiving a like activates the mesolimbic reward system, associated with pleasure and motivation. And this creates a silent trap. The brain starts looking for these micro rewards constantly. Life off the screen seems slower, duller. The real world loses its luster in the face of digital immediacy. What's worse, the more you interact, the more the platform learns. The algorithm maps your schedule, your emotions, and even your energy level. It knows when you're most likely to click, comment, or continue. And it delivers exactly what you need to see to stay hooked. Have you ever noticed how difficult it is to leave a social network? You close the app, and seconds later you open it again, without thinking. This has a name: compulsive dopaminergic loop. And it's at the heart of what we call behavioral addiction. Stanford University points out that uncontrolled use of social networks alters the structure of the brain, especially in young people. Areas linked to focus, decision-making, and emotional control are impacted. But the effects don't stop there. Imagine a button that, whenever pressed, gives you a small dose of pleasure. Not much, just enough to make you want to press it again. Now imagine that this button is in your pocket, vibrates on its own, and even tells you when it's time to use it. That's what the cell phone has become for billions of people. An instant pleasure machine. And its name is dopamine. Dopamine is a fundamental neurotransmitter in the regulation of pleasure, motivation, and learning. When you eat something tasty, achieve a goal, or receive a compliment, dopamine is released. It's like the brain saying, "I liked that, do more." But on social media, this release occurs artificially and repetitively, without any real effort or achievement. You don't need to do anything other than exist online. When you receive a like, a message, or a new follower, Your brain reacts with small bursts of dopamine. It's subtle, almost imperceptible, but over time, the brain begins to associate these quick stimuli with satisfaction. This creates a cycle of chemical and behavioral addiction. The more you consume, the more you need. But the reward is never enough. This intermittent reward system used in social media doesn't deliver dopamine constantly. Instead, it appears unpredictably, which increases engagement even more. It's the same mechanism used in slot machines. You know you could win at any moment, so you keep playing. But there's a serious problem here. The human brain wasn't designed to deal with this amount of pleasurable stimuli in such a short space of time. The result is a desensitization of the dopamine system. In simple terms, the more dopamine you receive easily, the less pleasure you feel in the little things in life. Breakfast is no longer pleasurable. A walk in the park seems boring. Reading a book becomes an impossible task. The mind becomes restless, jumping from stimulus to stimulus, unable to concentrate or be satisfied with anything that isn't instantaneous. In addition, the excessive production of dopamine can lead to the so-called emotional rebound effect. Short periods of digital euphoria followed by feelings of emptiness, irritability, or sadness. This is why many people experience anxiety or even depression after long periods on the web. The brain is exhausted. Studies from the University of Michigan show that excessive use of social networks is associated with reduced activity in the prefrontal cortex, an area linked to impulse control and planning. It's as if the brain is being reprogrammed to seek only immediate pleasure and reject any lasting effort. What's most dangerous about all this? The more the brain gets used to easy dopamine, the more it rejects real experiences that require patience, effort, and presence. And then we lose interest in the real world. But the consequence of this isn't just chemical. In the next chapter, we'll explore how this imbalance directly affects your concentration, your memory, and your emotional state. And why, if nothing changes, we could be heading towards a generation unable to be alone with its thoughts. Have you ever tried to concentrate on something for more than 10 minutes without looking at your cell phone? It sounds simple, but for most people today, it's an almost impossible challenge. The modern brain is being shaped for distraction, and the epicenter of this transformation is social media. We live in a state of fragmented attention. A scroll here, a notification there, a message that vibrates in your pocket. The brain jumps from stimulus to stimulus as if it were in a constant state of alert. And this state has a name: cognitive hyperstimulation. The problem is that the brain wasn't designed for constant multitasking. Every time we switch tasks, for example, stopping writing to check Instagram, there is a cognitive cost. A study by the University of California showed that the brain can take up to 23 minutes to regain full focus after an interruption. Now multiply that by dozens of daily interruptions. We're always starting something and never finishing it. But distraction is only the beginning. This mental hyperactivity has a profound impact on the nervous system. The brain interprets the excess of notifications and information as a threat and activates survival mode. It releases cortisol, the stress hormone. The heart races, breathing shortens, and so the constant use of social media begins to cause chronic anxiety, irritation, and even panic attacks. Have you ever felt exhausted without having done anything? As if your mind was burdened by an invisible weight? This is the result of a brain bombarded by stimuli that it can't process. It's not laziness. It's mental fatigue. And the more anxious you feel, the more you turn to your cell phone as an escape valve. It's a cruel cycle. Anxiety generates the use of social networks, and the use of social networks increases anxiety. What was supposed to be a distraction becomes an emotional dependency. Worse still, this digital anxiety compromises the quality of your sleep. Studies show that people who use social media before bed have more insomnia, sleep more lightly, and wake up feeling more tired. The blue light from the screen suppresses melatonin, the sleep hormone, and keeps the brain alert even when it should be slowing down. In addition, the excess of stimuli reduces our ability to be present. During a conversation, you feel the need to check your cell phone. During a meal, you need to see if anyone has replied. We live with our bodies here, but our minds there, divided between the now and the feed. And this disconnection comes at a high price. Superficial relationships, loss of productivity, lack of creativity, and a constant feeling of not doing enough. Do you feel that way? Open Instagram. In a few seconds, you'll see perfect smiles, sculpted bodies, dream trips, passionate relationships, and a life that always seems better than your own. But what you're seeing isn't reality. It's a cutout, a carefully edited theater of perfection. And even knowing this, you feel smaller. That's the power of comparison. It doesn't have to be logical to be destructive. It just has to be constant. Social media has created a stage where everyone competes for attention, approval, and status. And the more you consume this content, the more your brain compares. But it compares in the most unfair way possible, your stage with other people's stages. This process activates areas of the brain linked to social pain, especially the region of the anterior cingulate cortex, which is also activated when we are excluded or rejected. It's as if, when you see someone better than you online, your brain interprets it as a form of silent humiliation, and this directly affects your self-esteem. A study carried out by the University of Copenhagen with more than 1,000 people showed that those who took a break from Facebook for just 1 week reported a significant increase in levels of satisfaction with life and a reduction in feelings of inferiority. Because that's what it's all about. The more you see idealized lives, the more you feel that yours is insufficient. And it doesn't matter if you're successful, intelligent, or happy off-screen. All it takes is 5 minutes on a social network for that feeling of being left behind to emerge. It's called fear of missing out, or FOMO, fear of missing out. You start measuring your life by false metrics. Number of likes, views, followers. Worse still, you start to shape your identity based on external approval. You publish not what you feel, but what you know will be accepted. You smile not because you're happy, but because of an algorithm. And this creates a deep disconnection with who you really are. It's a cycle of self-abandonment. The more you try to be accepted online, the further you move away from yourself. And the more you distance yourself, the more insecure you feel, and the more you seek external validation. A hole that can't be filled. This comparison also affects important decisions. Young people are choosing professions, relationships, and lifestyles based on what seems ideal on the web, and not on what they really want. This leads to frustration, existential anxiety, and a feeling of emptiness, even when everything seems to be going well. But you don't have to continue in this cycle. Have you ever felt empty even when surrounded by stimuli? Have you noticed that the more time you spend on social media, the less you know what you really want out of life? This is no coincidence. It's a clear sign of internal disconnection. As we immerse ourselves in increasingly noisy digital environments, we are moving away from the only voice that really matters, our own. Social networks offer a distorted reflection of who we should be. And in order to be accepted, we start to mold ourselves to what pleases us. We stop being authentic in order to be likable. The problem is that this adaptation comes at a huge cost. You start to edit your personality. You think twice, 3 times before posting something. You evaluate how it will be received. You stop saying what you think. You hide your emotions, all to maintain an image consistent with what is expected of you. And little by little, that image becomes your prison. You become a character of yourself, smiling in the feed, but tired inside, creating content about what's hot, rather than what moves you, living to be seen, and not to feel alive. This break with authenticity generates a kind of pain that many can't name, but which consumes us from the inside. It's alienation from yourself, when you no longer recognize yourself, when your digital life takes the place of your real life. In addition, the excess of comparisons, filters, and visual editing creates a false expectation of perfection. You start to believe that you always need to look good, happy, and productive. And when you can't maintain this standard, which, by the way, nobody can, guilt, shame, and self-judgment ensue. This disconnection also weakens our capacity for introspection. Networks push us outwards, other people's opinions, trends, virals, controversies. And we look inwards less and less. Less silence, less listening, less presence. And the less presence, the more restlessness, more anguish, more existential anxiety. Without introspection, We lose our sense of direction. We no longer know what we really want. We just go with the flow, what everyone else is doing, consuming, desiring. And this turns us into spectators of our own lives. But there is a way back. The good news is, you don't have to give up technology to take back control of your mind. What you do need is to re-establish the hierarchy of attention. Put yourself back at the center of decisions. Because if you don't choose what you consume, you will be consumed. The first key is awareness. Understanding that social networks are tools, not lifestyles. That every click is a choice. That every minute you give to a screen is a minute you take away from something real. A conversation, an idea, a necessary silence. Start with micro habits of conscious disconnection. Turn off non-essential notifications. If something is really important, it will come to you. The rest is noise. Establish usage schedules, like someone who sets meal times. Social networks should have a beginning, middle, and end. Create cell phone-free spaces, such as during meals, in the shower, or before bed. These moments are sacred. They protect your mental health. Replace consumption with creation. Instead of just scrolling through your feed, write, draw, talk. Producing reconnects you with your essence. Practice boredom. Yes, boredom. It's the gateway to creativity and self-knowledge. Put your cell phone away and be alone with your thoughts. At first it will be uncomfortable, then it will be liberating. And perhaps most importantly, relearn to listen to yourself. Ask yourself sincerely, what do I want? What do I miss? Who am I when no one is looking? These questions may seem simple, but they are revolutionary in a world where everyone is trying to look like something. Using the web with awareness is like drinking wine in moderation. It can be pleasurable, it can enrich the experience, but in excess, it numbs, anesthetizes, distances you from reality. And reality is the only place where life really happens. You don't have to become a digital monk, but you do need to become the guardian of your attention, because where your attention goes, your life goes with it. So now it's up to you. Close this video for a moment and notice how you feel. Take a minute to breathe. Don't think about posting, replying, or seeing who liked it. Just be with yourself. And if this content made sense to you, share it with someone who also needs to wake up. Comment below. What's your biggest challenge when trying to disconnect? Let's talk about it together.